girl realizes at wedding that her parents married her off to 70-year-old man. In India, a girl is born without the right to choose, just as she was at her wit's end. A burly man angrily walked into the wedding venue to speak out against the practice. In this patriarchal country, girls are married off at 14. Whether a man is good or bad depends on luck. A good man spends his life as a cow or a horse. A bad man is indescribable, but the unfairness doesn't stop there. Our hero, Singh, was chosen as India's most promising wrestler. Unfortunately, no one in India was following the sport when he was born. He was unable to compete for his country, and his father wanted him to become a farmer. Though his dreams were put on hold, wrestling gave him the right outlook on life. Singh would never allow his daughters to live in a world of darkness, working for someone else, until one day the neighbor's kid got beat up. Singh slapped his nephew without saying a word. His wife, in turn, explained that it was your baby girl who did it. After apologizing to the neighbor, he wasn't mad. He asked his daughters to show him the ropes. Watching his daughters' stubborn personalities and raw power, Singh was secretly happy that they had inherited his wrestling genes. In the evening, Singh talked to his wife about getting his daughters into wrestling, but mom doesn't think it's a good idea. She's worried that gossip will ruin her daughters. Just let me try it for a year. That takes his daughters out for an unlimited supply of their favorite snack, because it's the last time they'll taste it. And after that, they'll go on a strict diet. They'll start running long distances before the sun comes up. Then it's sit-ups and push-ups to improve their aerobic capacity. In the afternoon, it's 50 sets of squats, and the training goes on day after day. Singh's training was accompanied by gossip and even sarcasm from the neighbors, but Singh ignored them. Ostracized, Singh had to set up a training ground outside the village. All he did was to give his daughters a better future. In order to verify the results of their training, he invited his nephew as a sparring partner, but he is a boy after all, and his daughter's physical strength is no match for his. The daughter's traditional vegetarian diet made them unable to withstand a beating, so the father decided to improve their diet. Despite the family's poverty, he wanted his daughters to eat chicken, but the daughters didn't understand. They found the daily training too hard. She said her hair was full of bugs. As a father, he felt this was not good for his daughters, so he cut off their long hair. This maneuver could have been considered anticlimactic in India at that time. Of course, it led to more ridicule and mockery, and even at school, they were bullied, but Singh didn't care. It was his lack of concern that made his daughters rebel. They would secretly break the light bulbs before training. Why does the light bulb go off every day? Quality. Dad. The girls would fake injuries in exchange for a few days vacation. Then the sisters would use their vacation to go to the wedding of a close friend their age. Geeta didn't realize how helpless the wedding would be for her best friend. She married an old man in his 70s. Meanwhile, her father arrives at the party in a rage and speaks out against this ugly vice. After the wedding, the daughters complained that their father was forcing them to train. They were treated like slaves every day and wished they didn't have such a father. But her best friend said she wished she had such a father too. At least she wouldn't have been betrothed at 14 to a man she'd never met, and then have his son and live a life of darkness. At least your father thinks you're his children. He'd protect you from the world and suffer your tantrums in silence. And why is that? So you could have a future, a life of your own. After listening to their friend's heartfelt words, they finally understood at this moment a father is willing to bear all the ridicule and contempt. It wasn't just for his own dreams. He wanted to give them a chance to choose their own lives. In the days to come, they no longer needed their father's prodding. The real training began. Gradually, the girls fell in love with the sport. Their skills and strength grew. Their talent was obvious, but their young nephews weren't practicing enough. So Singh took them to a real wrestling ring, but the organizers decided the girls would be better off staying home and cooking. The match was a no-go, but then they gave Singh's family a chance. It's not that he's nice, but if there are girls in the match, it'll attract a bigger crowd. The organizers succeeded. People just wanted to see how the girl would make a fool of herself. Some even wanted to see her disheveled. Before the match started, Dada chose her strongest opponent. It didn't take long for the first round to begin. Geeta overwhelmed her opponent with her talent and skill. The humiliated boy finally started to face his opponent squarely, but the boy gave him a resounding slap right from the start. It was just the right amount of force and didn't hurt his brain. Then the match, which should have ended quickly, dragged on for a long time by the girl, but due to age and fitness gap, she lost the match. But Geeta's performance was recognized by the entire audience and was rewarded by her boss. It was this loss that completely revitalized Geeta. She approached her father and wanted to fight again. Learning the lesson from the last time, Geeta soon defeated her opponent. Thereafter, Geeta's confidence grew and she went all the way through the fight. When she faced her old opponent again, she politely exchanged slaps to win the match. From then on, All her opponents were like sandbags for her to practice on. This made Geeta's reputation even bigger. Now she was the toast of the school and the pride of the village. No boy even wanted to compete with her. This also gave Geeta the capital to become a professional. Singh quit his job to help his elder daughter to glory. Then he came to the sports office with confidence. Though his daughter had reached the provincial level, she was still a girl. The sports office had no financial assistance, not even a training mat. The reason why India can't win medals is because of shameless officials like you. It's okay, I'll step aside. We have no choice but to use all the bedding in the house as training mats. Singh explained the real rules of wrestling to his daughters, what kind of moves get high scores, and how to neutralize an opponent's attack. In time, Geeta made her way to the junior pro wrestling team. Here, Geeta remained in top form. After all, even the boys were no match for her, so it was only natural that she won the championship. A few years later, Geeta competed for the national title with a Grand Slam. Of course, her goal was to become a world champion. This national championship medal made Singh's dream come true. It was a gift from a daughter to her father. Because of Geeta's impressive record, she was accepted into the National Sports Academy, so that she could receive more specialized training and become a world champion. But no one expected that when Geeta came to this academy, without her father's control, the coach changed her training style. Tempted by the new things around her, she stopped eating properly, grew her hair long, and tried to impress the boys. After a simple training session, she would go shopping with her sisters. Gradually, she deviated from her original goal. When she returned from vacation, Geeta was a completely different person, and after she saw the great deeds, her father was no longer a role model in her eyes. She constantly accused her father of having outdated skills. Her arrogant attitude soon caught her father's attention, for he knew that if his daughter continued like this, she would only bury her talent. So if he wanted to give his daughter a warning, the father slammed his daughter down hard. This is what your coach taught you? This is how you win world championships? And of course, the father's move stunned Geeta's pride, and so began a battle between the avant-garde and the traditional. As a daughter, she attacked her father like a madwoman. She used her youthful strength to overwhelm her father, who was already struggling. The bystanders see this. Only the daughter was still trying to defeat her father for the sake of victory. Meanwhile, Geeta seizes the opportunity to overwhelm her father with physical strength. In the end, Geeta wins the match but loses everyone's respect. Afterwards, she leaves with her attitude despite her sister's advice. Soon, her arrogance gave her a head start. Geeta was beaten by her opponents in an international tournament. The techniques taught to her by her coach did not help her. It was the first failure in her life. On the other hand, the youngest daughter, who always believed in her father, she won her gold medal. Meanwhile, she was accepted into the National Sports Academy. As soon as she arrived at the school, her sister couldn't wait to introduce her to everyone. Obviously, her sister was a stark contrast to her. Instead, she accused her sister of once beating herself up all night for losing a game. She didn't understand what was wrong with her. Geeta doesn't care about her sister's questioning. She said it was just a loss and she would win the next match. But in reality, she lost match after match, which is a big blow to a talented player. In the lounge, the coach said to her, "Some people just can't win international matches." Geeta was devastated, and like most girls, she had to call her father to cry. What parent wouldn't be sad to hear their child cry? Without saying a word, Singh went straight to the school. Understanding the situation, Singh immediately formulated a training program. The next day, before dawn, the daughters jumped out of the academy. Once again, the sisters saw their familiar scene, which belonged to their flavor. Under their father's precise guidance, the daughters' performance naturally skyrocketed. But the coach felt that the father was seriously interfering with his training, so he reported the father's behavior to the committee. This man, who had been tough all his life, gave up his bottom line for his daughters. All he wanted to do was ask the other side not to expel his daughters. Fortunately, the school forgave his behavior but warned him not to repeat it. They would keep in touch by phone and check the video to keep track of the problem. After 6 months of training, the Commonwealth Games begin. It's her ticket to the World Championships. But the first match showed Geeta what world-class means. It wasn't long before she lost points and gave her opponent a match point. At this rate, Geeta's going to lose. You haven't lost yet? Geeta, there's no better motivation than family. Geeta's confidence returned. She memorized her father's techniques. A clinch, then a backbreaker. A series of points puts Geeta back on the scorecards. In the final round, her opponent gave it her all, but with her confidence restored, Geeta was the better fighter. In the end, Geeta got his ticket to the championship. In the next round, Geeta went all the way to the semi-finals. This time, his opponent was a good attacker. The coach saw that Geeta's offense was effective in the last match. He wanted her to play hard against her opponent, but as her father, he told her to play good defense. As long as she succeeds in defending the offense, the opponent will get impatient and won't be able to attack. At the beginning of the match, the opponent's offense was very aggressive, but Geeta kept her father's advice in mind and defended her opponent again and again. Soon, her opponent became impatient. just as her father had said. Since both sides are evenly matched, it's time for overtime. Everyone used a coin toss to choose between offense and defense. Unfortunately, Geeta drew defense. Her opponent chose to hold Geeta's right leg and instantly lifted Geeta over her head. She wanted to get Geeta off balance and take her down in one fell swoop. Geeta used her father's skills to dodge around her opponent's back. She turned the tide of the battle and won the match in one fell swoop. At the press conference, as a coach, he didn't bother to get to know his opponent. Instead, he sat her day in front of the media and took credit. The daughter's father, on the other hand, carefully analyzed his opponent's tactics. Nighttime dad tells daughter not to listen to coach's advice on getting a silver medal. You have to win the championship because no one will remember second place. You're not racing for yourself. You're racing for these girls and for the thousands of Indian women who have no choice. On the day of the race, Singh was taken by the staff to a room for a meeting. They turned around and locked him up. The daughter was anxious because she couldn't see her father, and all this was ordered by the coach so that no one could tell her what to do. Used to having her father around, Geeta was on her own. It wasn't long before Geeta grabbed a chance to win by 3 points. Riding the wave, he grabbed another run. The second set began. Geeta didn't give his opponent a chance to catch his breath and took 4 points in one go. However, she slowly lost the battle as her opponent was losing her stamina. The advantage she had gained earlier was fading away. At the same time, her heart was shaking. Her father used to help her, but now she has nothing left. As the third round began, her opponent began to attack fiercely, causing Geeta to lose points one after another. As time passed, she lost control completely. It looked like the match was about to end, but just when she was in despair, she remembered her father throwing her into the river. Dad can always come to your rescue. I can't only teach you how to fight. You must fight on your own. Do your best to save yourself. Now, she could only save herself. She realized that her father had never taught her how to defeat her opponents. He taught her how to fend for herself. With only 22 seconds left on the clock, all her opponent has to do is make a final defense, and the champion will be crowned. Geeta fakes to fool her opponent and uses her right leg as a springboard. She immediately turns around and comes behind her. A full-point wrestling maneuver is about to be completed. Geeta wins the gold medal. The score is valid. Geeta completes the shutout. She has done another miraculous comeback, showing the world the power of Indian women. The Indian national anthem resonates in every corner of the stadium. At that moment, the father knew his daughter had won. Their voices had finally been heard by the world. This is a true story of the sisters, who went on to win a total of 29 international medals. Geeta was the first Indian woman to qualify for the Olympics. This movie is not only about sports, it's also about the combination of homeschooling and the power of women in the Indian society of that time. Women had no choice. It was this irrational situation that made Singh choose to break before he broke. He led his daughters to more than honor and respect. He rescued them from the mire of futile thinking, gave them the opportunity to change their destiny and break the deep-rooted old ideas. He showed the whole of India that women could do more than just raise children. Of course, in this battlefield where there's no smoke and mirrors, Singh is not trying to revive his dream. It's about providing a starting point for thousands of Indian women to break their chains. It's about giving more women the chance to take control of their lives.